स्थिरता के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है। भारत आसियान सेंट्रलिटी को प्राथमिकता देता है। मलेशिया की सफल आसियान अध्यक्षता के लिए मैं एक बार फिर आपको बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं। मलेशिया जैसे मित्र देशों के सहयोग से भारत आसियान के साथ अपने संबंधों को व्यापक बनाएगा। हम इस बात पर सहमत हैं कि आसियान भारत व्यापार समझौते आईटीका की समीक्षा शीघ्र ही पूरी हो जानी चाहिए। फ्रेंड्स, आज हमने क्षेत्रीय और वैश्विक मुद्दों पर भी सार्थक चर्चा की। वैश्विक अस्थिरता के इस माहौल में भारत और मलेशिया की बढ़ती मित्रता दोनों देशों के लिए अत्यंत महत्वपूर्ण है। हमारा साझा मत है कि आज के चैलेंजेस का समाधान करने के लिए ग्लोबल इंस्टीट्यूशंस का रिफॉर्म बहुत जरूरी है। हम शांति के सभी प्रयासों का समर्थन करते रहेंगे और आतंकवाद पर हमारा संदेश स्पष्ट है। नो डबल स्टैंडर्ड्स, नो कॉम्प्रोमाइज। एक्सेलेंसी, भारत मलेशिया संबंधों के प्रति आपकी प्रतिबद्धता का हम सराहना करते हैं। आइए हम साथ मिलकर प्रॉस्परस मलेशिया का आपका सपना और विकसित भारत के हमारे संकल्प को साकार करें। एक बार फिर आपकी मित्रता, आपके गर्मजोशी भरे स्वागत और आतिथ्य के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। हम आपको भारत में स्वागत करने के लिए उत्सुक है। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। जुम्पा लागी।
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister.
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News9, English news as it should be.
Yes, we are in Philippines.
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News9, English news as it should be.
First up, viewers, the Assam cabinet has decided to hand over the special investigation team probe involving Congress MP Gaurav Gogoi to the Union Home Ministry, citing national security concerns. The decision was taken after the cabinet meeting chaired by Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma, and this cabinet reviewed an SIT report alleging links between Gaurav Gogoi, Congress MP, and a Pakistani national named Ali Tawqir Sheikh. The report is said to contain serious findings pointing to alleged foreign interference in India's internal affairs. According to the Chief Minister of Assam, while the Assam police-led SIT conducted an extensive investigation, it faced jurisdictional limitations, particularly in accessing inputs from Interpol and also parliamentary affairs. The Assam government has said that once the Home Ministry assigns the case to central agencies such as the NIA or the IB or even CBI, all evidence gathered so far will be formally handed over to that central agency. Himanta Biswa Sarma, the Chief Minister, has maintained that the probe is driven purely by national security considerations. He also stated that an MP had visited Pakistan between 2012 and 2016 without informing either the Assam government or the centre at a time when the MP's father was a sitting chief minister. Gaurav Gogoi, however, has rejected these allegations outrightly, calling them politically motivated and completely baseless. The SIT report, viewers, is scheduled to be made public tomorrow morning in the presence of national media.
Assam government had constituted one SIT to inquire alleged anti-India conspiracy of Ali Tokir Sheikh in connivance of a British citizen, Elizabeth Colburn Gogoi. The case has been investigated and sensitive information material has been obtained from various sources by the Special Investigation Team. However, the SIT has given a clear report that beyond a point, it may not be possible for SIT to continue with the investigation because it's required help from Interpol. It requires many sensitive information from Government of India as well as from Parliament. As such, it has been decided that case will be entrusted to a central government agency which should be selected by Ministry of Home Affairs, and accordingly once the agency is selected, Government of Assam will transfer the case to that agency at the advice of MHA, Ministry of Home Affairs.
Moving on to some big breaking news coming in from Russia. 4 Indian students were among at least 6 others injured in a stabbing attack on Saturday at a university in Russia's Bashkortostan Republic. According to preliminary reports, a teenager armed with a knife entered a dormitory of the State Medical University in Ufa and stabbed several students living there. The local media said 2 police officers were also hurt while arresting the assailant. The attacker, identified as a 15-year-old youth, has also been admitted to a hospital in a serious condition. In a post on X, Indian Embassy said, and I quote, "An unfortunate incident of attack has occurred in Ufa. Several persons, including 4 Indian students, have been injured." The embassy said that they are in touch with the authorities and the officials from the consulate in Kazan are on their way to Ufa to provide assistance to the injured students. All Indian Medical Students Association has expressed concern over attack on Indian medical students, and authorities in Ufa, the capital of Bashkortostan Republic, about 1,200 kilometers east of Moscow, have launched a high-level probe into the incident. A local media claimed that the attacker belonged to a banned neo-Nazi outfit. Meanwhile, government earlier this week informed the parliament about the deaths of Indian students abroad due to violent attacks from 2018 to 2025. As per the data made available by the government, 17 students died in Canada, followed by 9 in the US and 3 students in Australia, among others.
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News9, English news as it should be. This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News9, English news as it should be.
A very good morning, viewers. Thank you for tuning into News9. You're watching Global Lens with me, Deepak Suresh Kumar, where we get you the top international stories. But as usual, first the headlines. Assam cabinet to hand over probe into Congress MP Gaurav Gogoi's alleged Pakistan links to MHA, citing national security concerns. 4 Indian students injured in knife attack at Russian Medical College hostel in Bashkortostan Republic. Death toll rises to 2 after 3-story building collapses in Rajasthan's Kota. At least 13 injured, 11 rescued so far. Rescue operations conclude. Speaking alongside Malaysia Prime Minister Anwar, PM Modi lodged long-standing India-Malaysia ties, says two civilizations are connected by shared cultural heritage and democratic values. One dead and several injured after swing collapses at Surajkund Fair in Haryana's Faridabad. Chief Minister Naib Saini issues directions to provide treatment to all those injured. India survived USA scared to open T20 World Cup title defence with a victory. Surya Kumar steadies innings amidst batting collapse. Siraj Arshdeep derail US chase. First up, viewers, Russia has launched one of its largest aerial assaults in recent months, unleashing a wave of drones and missiles on Ukraine's already fragile energy lifeline overnight. Electricity generation units, key substations and critical transmission lines were deliberately targeted across multiple regions, just as harsh winter conditions set in. With temperatures plunging well below freezing and strikes have deepened fears of prolonged blackouts, disrupted heating supplies and growing civilian suffering, further compounding the humanitarian toll of the nearly 4-year-long war. And responding strongly to the fresh wave of Russian strikes, President Volodymyr Zelensky has accused Moscow of deliberately choosing violence over dialogue, saying every new attack undermines any claim of seriousness about peace talks. He warned that Russia is once again trying to weaponize winter, using cold, darkness and civilian suffering as tools of pressure against Ukraine. Zelensky urged Ukraine's partners and all supporters of ongoing negotiations to react firmly, stressing that Moscow must be stripped of its ability to exploit freezing temperatures and energy shortages as leverage against the Ukrainian people. Ukraine's power sector remains under relentless assault, with repeated Russian strikes severely crippling electricity generation and distribution across the country. Key thermal power plants, viewers, substations and even transmission lines have been hit because, according to Zelensky, Russia launched at least 40 missiles and 400 drones, forcing authorities to impose emergency shutdowns and rolling blackouts. And as winter temperatures plunge, damage to critical infrastructure is mounting faster than repairs can be carried out, leaving millions of Ukrainians facing longer power outages, disrupted heating and growing uncertainty over basic services. Even the repair works are taking a lot of time because the repair works need to be done amidst the strikes by Russia, and fearing for their lives, even the repair works are being delayed because Ukraine is constantly under attack and people continue to suffer in harsh winter cold. Now, as Russian attacks continue to damage power infrastructure in Ukraine, winter cold is tightening, viewers, its grip on Kyiv. With electricity and heating knocked out for long hours, some families are being forced to find shelter in the floor of their small cafe.
This winter, Russian strikes on Ukraine have been unrelenting, and so has the bitter cold. The chill is at times too much to bear, both outside and in. Denis Davidenko asks his 2-year-old daughter, Stefania, if her little hands are too cold. That's because of bundled-up Denis, his wife Yulia, his 3 children, 2 dogs and 2 cats, are often left without heat in their Kyiv apartments, as waves of Russian missile and drone attacks continue to target the city's electricity and heating systems.
For 8 days, we had a situation where we had no electricity at all. That is, it's not like it was on for an hour or two. It was completely gone.
Now, these strikes on the country's power grid are nothing new. But this winter is the harshest of the 4-year war. At night, it can sometimes hit -4 degrees Fahrenheit, making it very uncomfortable for Kyiv's 3 million residents. Some are leaving. Some are forced to brave the frigid cold at home, while others shelter inside giant heated tents set up around the city. But for the Davydenkos, a new routine is leaving behind their space heater and Ukrainian flags in their apartment and heading to the cafe they own. There, they find a generator and often some warmth, along with 7 small pigs with wagging tails, which lend the Piggy Cafe Kyiv its name. It's where they eat takeout food so they don't have to cook or do dishes. As Denis joked to Reuters, household rules do not apply anymore. Our reporters spent 3 days with the family to document how they are coping in the bitter conditions. For the children, the upheaval adds an element of adventure to their lives. It's enticing for customers to visit the cafe, pet and feed the animals, a brief distraction from the stresses of war.
Even after the heaviest shelling, if they come a little sad, they all leave with a positive attitude and say that everything is great.
And when the customers leave for the day and the family rolls out their thin mattresses, the animals offer the family an added benefit.
If we're cold in the night, the piggies will come and warm us up.
They had tried to find somewhere else to rent, but landlords weren't keen on a family of 5 with so many pets. When the young boys, Maxim and Timothy, wake up after sleeping with their family on the floor, they go to school, where there is food and heat. Bathing the children at home without hot water is out of the question. So the family sometimes pays for a trip to the sauna to use the showers. The Davydenkos are better off than many families in Kyiv. Still, they're living amid conflict, and they fight to keep their spirits up.
So that the psychological state of our children is normal, we also maintain this positive tone. Because how else? Positivity gives movement forward. If we sit, cry, and be sad, what can we do? We will freeze in Troyes-China.
The Davydenkos go back to their 12th floor apartment every few days.
Right away, what do I do when I enter our apartment? I go to the radiator. Hello, my radiator. Hello, it's cold.
They collect belongings and do laundry if the power is back, but it takes days to dry and still feels damp. Their home is some 2.5 miles away from a major thermal power plant, a primary strike target since last year. Russia denies targeting civilians and says its missile and drone attacks are aimed at degrading Ukraine's military. But after a particularly heavy attack on January 20th, almost half of the apartment blocks in the capital lost heating, according to government data. Despite intensifying bombardments, the Davydenkos hope for better while preparing for worse.
No big deal. We will set up a wood stove here. We have a generator.
We have a barbecue. We will bring it here and cook food on the barbecue.
At first, we will use the generator if there's fuel. When there's no fuel...
You know, as I say, we've already left. We didn't like it. We want to live here. That's why we are here.
Kyiv says Russia wants to break the spirit of Ukrainians with repeated strikes on the energy system. But the Davydenkos are staying strong and staying put, having fled to France once already.
The point when we decide to leave Kyiv again would be when Russian troops are 10 to 12 kilometers from the city. That's it. The same as it was in the beginning of the full-scale invasion.
And such defiance is common both in Kyiv and across Ukraine, even as families grapple every day with the challenges of winter and war.
Viewers, Bangladesh heads into a decisive election week as BNP chairman Tariq Rahman addresses the party's final mega rally in Dhaka today. Tariq, returning from exile to lead the BNP revival, is positioning the party as the main alternative after Sheikh Hasina's ouster, calling for an inclusive democratic rebuild of the nation. With the Awami League barred from the elections, BNP, leading a 10-party alliance, is emerging as a front-runner in the February 12 polls, backed by strong grassroots mobilization and rising public support. The election, overseen by a caretaker government, is being seen as a turning point for Bangladesh's future governance and even political direction. Moving on, Greenland's foreign minister said on Saturday that while the ongoing talks with the US is a positive thing, but it's not going the way Greenland wants, and the foreign minister said it is too early to predict where the talks will lead. Uncertainty continues over Greenland as President Donald Trump continues to reiterate his desire to have it for the US, citing national security interests. Trump's repeated comments have reignited global debate and diplomatic unease, with Greenland and Denmark firmly maintaining that the territory is not for sale. Despite ongoing talks, questions persist over Washington's intentions and how the issue could impact regional politics in the Arctic region. Viewers, Norway is set to launch a probe into its foreign ministry over links to late US ex-offender Jeffrey Epstein as the fallout from the newly released files continues to ripple across Europe. The release of a large cache of documents has revealed fresh details of Epstein's connections with politicians, royals, and even influential figures, putting several European governments under pressure. In Norway, multiple public figures are now under scrutiny, including Crown Princess Mette Marit and former Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Thorbjørn Jagland. Norwegian media reports say a majority of parties in parliament support an independent inquiry into the foreign ministry's handling of Epstein-linked contacts, though Prime Minister Jonas Gahr has suggested the probe be conducted by Parliament's Standing Committee on Scrutiny and Constitutional Affairs. Norway's Economic Crime Police have also confirmed an investigation into the foreign minister on suspicion of aggravated corruption, with his lawyer saying he will cooperate fully and prove his innocence. Now, viewers, the Epstein revelations have also caused political tremors elsewhere in Europe, with resignations and mounting pressure on senior figures in Britain, Slovakia, and even France. Now, speaking about France, France has opened an official investigation against former Culture Minister Jack Lang and his daughter Caroline following the release of files linked to late US sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The French Financial Prosecutor's Office confirmed that the probe is examining suspected aggravated tax fraud laundering. The investigation comes days after documents released by the US Justice Department revealed intermittent correspondence between Epstein and Lang over several years. The disclosures have triggered renewed scrutiny of Lang's continued role as president of the Arab World Institute in Paris, with pressure mounting for his resignation. French prosecutors have acknowledged the investigation but have not shared further details at this stage. The case marks one of the most high-profile political fallouts in France following the Epstein file dump, which has drawn global attention to the sex offenders' network of high-profile contacts. Moving on, an anti-Olympics protest in Milan has turned violent as Italian authorities probed suspected railway sabotage linked to the unrest. Tensions flared on the first full day of the Milano Cortina Winter Olympics, with thousands taking to the streets over soaring housing costs and environmental concerns. Police say a breakaway group fired fireworks and flares at officers, prompting the use of water cannons to disperse the crowd. At least 6 protesters were detained in this crackdown. Organizers, including housing rights groups and even grassroots unions, say the games reflect an unsustainable city model where money flows to mega events while public services and affordability suffer. Security had already been tightened across Italy's financial capital, especially after similar protests in Turin last week turned violent, injuring more than 100 police officers. Authorities are now on high alert as the games continue. Now, Iran and US are set to hold another round of nuclear talks soon, and even as tensions remain high on enrichment, missiles and even fresh US sanctions, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has said that the first round of indirect talks in Muscat was a good start, but stressed that uranium enrichment is Iran's inalienable right and cannot be negotiated away. He also added that Iran will strike US bases in West Asia if it is attacked by US forces that have massed in the region over the last couple of weeks. Tehran, however, says it is open to a reassuring agreement. The talks as very positive. US President Donald Trump confirmed another meeting is expected next week, but issued a very stark warning saying that there would be a steep consequence if no deal is reached. Within hours of the Muscat talks, President Trump imposed a 25% tariff on imports from any country that buys goods from Iran, targeting key sectors like energy, metals and petrochemicals. The White House says the move is aimed at cutting off revenue streams for Tehran. Iran has criticized the pressure tactics, warning it would retaliate if its territory or interests are targeted, even as it insists the talks must remain limited strictly to nuclear issues. With the New START treaty expired and West Asia on edge, analysts warn that the success or failure of these talks could shape regional stability and determine whether diplomacy prevails over confrontation. Now, voters in Yonuma city of central Japan's mountainous Niigata prefecture today morning navigated piles of heavy snow to cast their ballots in Japan's general election, and this marks the first ballot held in midwinter in 36 years with up to 70 centimeter, which is 28 inches of snow forecast in northern and eastern regions, which could disrupt voter access and turnout. Cars could be seen cautiously driving through miles of heavy snow piled at least 2 meters high along roadways leading to a local polling station in Yonuma. Several local train lines appeared to be shut due to the heavy snowfall, according to Japan Rail staff. At least 2 roads near the polling station appeared closed due to the heavy snowfall. And this is the current scenario in Japan amid the general elections. And heavy snowfall could quite literally have a bearing on the voter turnout and also accessibility for several voters, because roads leading up to several of these voting centers are heavily covered by snow. Several avalanches struck northern Italy on Saturday, killing at least 3 people. Rescue officials have warned that the toll could rise as conditions remain unstable in the Alps. In Lombardy, 2 people were killed by an avalanche near Albosaglia. Authorities have confirmed this. In Trentino, a skier also died after being buried in a second avalanche that occurred on the Marmolada Massif along the Trentino side near Punta Serrata. The victim was part of a group of 4 Italian skiers who were in their 40s, had left marked ski runs to go off piste. Despite being equipped with avalanche transceivers, shovels and probes, the Alpine Rescue Service said the first skier triggered the slide and was completely buried, while the others, uninjured, began search operations before rescuers arrived. Helicopters and dog units were deployed, but the man was pronounced dead at the scene. Earlier in the day, an avalanche in the Aosta Valley partially buried 2 ski tourers who were rescued by companions and they were unharmed. Authorities said reports of an additional death following another Trentino incident remained unconfirmed. Now, Spain's southern region of Andalusia is on high alert as authorities warn of serious trouble ahead if fresh severe weather strikes this weekend. Andalusian regional leader Juan Manuel Moreno has cautioned that reservoirs are already at full capacity and the ground can no longer absorb any more rain, raising fears of flooding and further damage. Storm Martha is also set to approach the Iberian Peninsula on Saturday, following Storm Leonardo, which earlier battered the region with torrential rain and also strong winds. Moreno has warned of massive losses to the production system, particularly in agriculture and fishing, after days of heavy rainfall. More than 11,000 people have already been forced to leave their homes in southern Andalusia as a series of consecutive weather fronts described as a storm train continues to hit Portugal and Spain. Now, Spain's state weather agency AMET has warned that Storm Martha could bring heavy rain, snow, coastal hazards and storms. Authorities have issued an orange weather warning, the second highest level after earlier red alerts were lifted. Viewers, Ayurveda has been part of India's healthcare traditions for thousands of years, but today it is no longer limited to home remedies or traditional clinics. From wellness retreats to packaged medicines to global exports and startups, Ayurveda has grown into a multi-billion rupee industry. Here's a closer look at Ayurveda as both wellness practice and big business.
Oils, massages, relaxation. That is what most people associate with Ayurveda. But it goes far beyond that. After centuries of staying in the background, Ayurveda is now entering the mainstream. Dr. Aishwarya Jairam, an Ayurveda practitioner for 15 years, is witnessing this change closely. She works at Sanjeevanam, a hospital that brings traditional Ayurveda and modern healthcare together, and has become a key center for this shift.
It's a holistic thing. We see people as a whole person. We think about their body, their mind, their spirit, even spiritual also. We think about all these aspects. Ayurveda has multifaceted dimensions. Like, it is not just wellness. It is preventive, it is promotive, it is curative.
Institutions like Sanjeevanam show how the perception about Ayurveda is evolving. No longer considered an age-old healing system followed by small traditional centers or solo practitioners, but an organized and thriving sector being studied by modern research. It is very much an industry now. According to A.V. Anup, the founder of Sanjeevanam, Ayurvedic products for personal care like shampoos, soaps, oils and creams have also gained immense popularity.
The Ayurveda products market in India presently valued at $10.5 billion. I'm sure 15 to 20% growth annually will take place.
He says growth could be even faster if Ayurvedic medicines receive wider regulatory acceptance outside India.
The country which is receiving the product has to give clearance. Their licensing authorities should have a system to study this product and issue the approval. That is not available. That is lacking now. There is no licensing authority in those countries to approve the medicines.
Wellness tourism is another aspect where Ayurveda is leading the charge. Emily Terrier is from France, and her deep research looking for treatment for her endometriosis brought her here.
In the Western medicine, basically, the vision is very limited. And when I read about endometriosis, it's also what you eat, it's your day-to-day pattern, it's a lot of things. When I read about Ayurveda, it seemed very interesting to me.
This growing interest in Ayurveda reflects a broader change, where traditional practices are reaching wider audiences, bigger markets, and opening up to new economic possibilities.
Hosted the Stuttgart Meets Mumbai Wine Festival, an annual Indo-German platform blending culture, commerce and diplomacy through a shared wine tradition. What began as a showcase of wines from Germany's Baden-Württemberg region has grown into a major people-to-people bridge between India and Germany, bringing together political leaders, industry heads and even entrepreneurs. At the heart of the festival is Andreas Lapp, German industrialist, Chairman Emeritus of Lapp Group and India's Honorary Consul, as well as the Grand Architect of Stuttgart Mumbai Wine Festival. More than 2 decades ago, Lapp identified India as a long-term partner, playing a key role in strengthening bilateral ties. this year's edition gains added significance as India and the European Union enter a new phase of economic engagement, highlighting why platforms like this festival continue to matter. We also caught up with Jan Noether, Director General, Indo-German Chamber of Commerce, who called the Stuttgart-Mumbai Wine Festival an important bridge between India and Germany. He said, the combination of Indian talent and German expertise creates an unbeatable partnership. Pointing to the India-EU FTA, Noether said, the agreement is a game changer for companies on both sides. Listen in.
Joined in by Jan Noether. He is the Director General of the Indo-German Chambers of Commerce. He's somebody who's a veteran in international banking, somebody who's the key figure in the entire free trade agreement. So, sir, firstly, we are at the wine festival. This is the 22nd here, and this is your first time. How do you feel it?
I feel very much home, and it looks fantastic. The premises here are really great. We look forward to a wonderful event.
How much of this has been a bridge between Germany and India?
This is a very important bridge. Andreas Lapp is the honorary consul of India in Stuttgart, and Stuttgart being one of the major centers of industry in Germany, maintains a very, very strong relationship with India for, I almost want to say centuries, but certainly for decades.
And for decades, there was another thing that was happening is the conversation between the entire free trade agreement. For 20 years, this has been going back and forth. What changed in 2026 for you?
What was very important was the dynamics. When we look into the past 3 months, there was a lot of positively minded discussions. From the German side, our Minister of Foreign Affairs, then our Chancellor was around. All of those very strongly supported the negotiations of the FTA. And when we look into India, and in particularly Piyush Goyal, our Minister of Industry and Trade, that was a very, very positive spirit to bring it onto the finishing line.
Because you've said that there was a lot of this dynamics between the government and between the Germans. What I also want to know, what will change now for the Indian companies? Because you're somebody who also had close to 2,000 German companies that work here in India. What will change for Indian companies? How much of a competitive market will it be compared to the Chinese and the other nations who are competing with us?
I believe this free trade agreement offers a huge opportunity for the German and the Indian markets. We need to look into supply chains. We need to look into bringing together the MSMEs from India with the SMEs from Germany. They form partnerships to last, and these partnerships will fill some of the gaps when we look into the local supply chain.
So you believe somewhere or the other the LAP effect that started 22 years back has made a great difference today in 2026?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And we see it. Tonight we are going to welcome 1,500 guests, and all of them are very much interested to enter into a discussion with our guests from Stuttgart. There is a wonderful basis for continuous success and mutual benefits for the Indian companies as well as for the companies around Stuttgart.
So if I meet you 5 years from today, what do you think will change in our relationship?
In our relationship, it's going to be cemented. We do have already a wonderful relationships for decades. However, we are going to see India emerge very, very fast when it comes to industrialization in general, when it comes to infrastructure. However, more important for me is the technological cooperation. India brings a lot to the table, and basically, if we form GCCs with young, hungry Indian talents and the German expertise and let's say the German power they have behind their product scheme, if we form these relationships, these partnerships, we are going to be unbeatable.
So what will your message be to those young Indian entrepreneurs who are trying to make a mark? If you want to welcome them to Germany, what would that message be for you?
Have a look. It is all about people. Travel to Germany, visit Stuttgart, experience the drive this region has around Stuttgart, and form partnerships, form friendships, and we need to exchange the young people.
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News9, English news as it should be.
पढ़ता है, खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
हमें सेंटर को बड़ा करना चाहिए,
लेकिन कैसे हो पाएगा?
आपका सोना है ना?
सोना?
हाँ, सोना क्या नहीं कर सकता? भारत की सबसे बड़ी गोल्ड लोन NBFC मुथूट फाइनेंस से गोल्ड लोन लीजिए और लोगों की मुश्किलों को दूर कीजिए। देखा, सोना क्या नहीं कर सकता? कॉल कीजिए 1-800-313-1212 पे।
This isn't a trail of peace. This is pressure overload. A hill built for 1,000, forced to carry lakhs.
Instead of lightening the footprint, you have allowed people to actually get into every nook and corner of the Himalayas.
Careless travel, choking hills. If we don't change now, there won't be much left to enjoy.
We need to follow the Bhutan model, regulate people who can access hills.
News9 presents Heal the Hills, continuous coverage.
Alright, you're watching News9 and this is the editor's take, and here we're going to take a solid line and a solid understanding, try and drill down every little word which came out in that joint statement which was released jointly by US and India. Early this morning India time, late last night US time. I think, Karthikeya, fair to assume at this point that whatever US President Donald Trump had mentioned in his first post on Truth Social about the contours of the trade deal, everything in the joint statement moving in that direction. However, the joint statement expectedly does not singularly mention that India will not buy Russian oil, but the $500 billion of purchases that India will make from US include not just energy, they also include defense products, and these were some things which were not mentioned in the first tweet that came from US President Donald Trump. Your initial take, I think let's first begin with agriculture, something which was a bone of contention. Agriculture safeguarded. Are you happy with what you're seeing in the joint statement, that at least critical agriculture sector and the dairy sector in India continues to be protected? Because it's not mentioned, dairy is not mentioned in the joint statement where India is eliminating tariffs.
Okay, then I'll do one thing. I'll take our viewers through what the Prime Minister's office has actually put out, the government of India. They are saying that ragi, amaranth, makka, chawal, all the millets which we know,
the mainstay of India's agriculture,
the mainstay of India's agriculture has been protected. So what they have done is they have taken out 13, I would say, X ads, and they have put it out. The second is on the vegetables and the fruit market. They have argued that basic fruits have been protected, which includes bananas, mangoes and apples. Right. Even in the vegetables, I'm very surprised that their presentation has been very meticulous. They have not only named the vegetables, but they have, created a diagram. They have created a diagram and they have put it out. So this is to assure and assuage the anxieties which exist in our agricultural sector that we are taking care of.
Also taken up by opposition. That issue was also refuted by opposition, saying that the dairy sector and the agri sector have been compromised.
I think the issue of opposition more or less is settled. I think opposition, I think we will take that part later, which has to do with the Russian oil. Basically, opposition was primarily concerned about vegetable, horticulture, agriculture and milk. Yeah. Now, in the milk sector, and before I close in my reply, the government says that Bharatiya Dugh Padartho ko pura sangrakshan. So, in that section, they are saying cream, yogurt, buttermilk, ghee, paneer, butter oil, cheese, mozzarella, and they have actually described cheese in 3 categories. They said these are protected. So government says...
when we say these are protected, let's just break it down for our viewers. When we say these are protected, that means there is no zero tariff on American imports of these items that you just mentioned.
2 things have happened. The government, as per as the the data they have put out, they're basically saying that we have protected vegetables, we have protected dairy, we have protected millets, we have protected the basic agricultural sector.
Right.
Now what they have done is that they have gone into details. For example, they say we have also protected dried vegetables, we have protected roots, tubers, bean pulses. You know, a lot of things would say, you know, these are banal details, but they have done, God lies in details. They have done detailing like कि हमने तो काली मिर्च, लौंग, सूखी हरी मिर्च, basic stuff which is used in Indian cuisine. They have also mentioned that they have protected it.
Right.
So the long and bottom is, since agriculture is also a political constituency, government says we have done our job.
Got it. Government has done its job as far as at least protecting the mainstay of India's farm produce, the mainstay of India's dairy produce.
Can I ask you a question,
the ingredients that
Karthik?
go into cooking. Yeah, go ahead.
Karthik, I want to know, because you know, I woke up today with the messages which I got. Then I called you.
Yeah.
You know, we have to start a day early. But then I realized, even 2 hours before that, there was a press release by White House.
Yeah.
In that press release, the White House press release states that they have been told that we will not buy the Russian oil.
Yeah.
Now, our spokesperson of Ministry of External Affairs says,
And the release that we saw in PIB also is mum on that.
This is the sovereign choice.
Right.
Can you break this down? What is happening?
Right. So, you know, I think very difficult to right now put your finger on whether India has exactly eliminated the decision completely to buy Russian oil, or whether India is still maintaining what it has been calling sovereign autonomy, right? So, so India has always said, and this is something which has been reiterated as well, that India will protect its critical sectors and India will keep its energy basket open to protect India's national interest, right? Now, if you run the numbers, India's dependence on Russian oil after August, when Trump had introduced that additional 25% tariff, India's import of Russian oil had started trickling down. India was not importing as much. So if you look at some numbers between the month of November last year and December last year, India's total Russian oil imports had fallen from about $3.5 billion to $2.7 billion. So overall, if you were to annualize this, you were still looking at something like $30 billion worth of Russian oil imports until last calendar year 2025. Now I'm looking at, you know, what you're asking, Karthikeya, in the context of whether India can afford to buy more American oil, right? Now India obviously buys from all the OPEC countries, and with Russia's inclusion it became OPEC plus. So India was buying from OPEC plus, but now if India has to meet its target, so to speak, of $500 billion worth of imports from the US, reducing Russian oil dependence, increasing American oil is absolutely possible. Add to that $500 billion requirement when it comes to aircraft parts, defense parts, etc. I think if you look at the Boeing order book that private Indian airlines have placed with Boeing, I think we will very easily offset about $80–90 billion from that $500 billion straight up. So overall, India can financially, if you look at the current account deficit estimates, India can afford to balance its energy needs between Russia and America. Remember, Russia also stopped giving us those deep discounts. It reduced to about $2.50 per barrel, and India imports those barrels in millions. So at the end of the day, I think whether or not India in its own strategic interest will cut off all oil trade with Russia or not, because remember, it's also that 25% secondary tariff still hangs as a sword on India. If India continues buying oil from Russia, we don't know when that 25% tariff comes back on us. So I think India in its own, continuing to mention sovereign interest of national, sort of protecting national interest, I think India can very comfortably balance and buy oil from whichever bloc offers the best value.
Okay. My second question to you is, there are two separate, now we can't tweet outs or X outs. Posts. Textile, apparels, organic chemicals, leather and footwear, home decor, artisanal products, plastic and rubber, and certain machinery.
Right.
Prime Minister says these are gains for Indian exports.
Right.
Then another thing which Prime Minister stresses is that this is like short tariffs for Indian goods to be removed, generic pharmaceutical, aircraft parts, gems and diamonds.
Right.
And now the third part, he says there's a great technology cooperation, and we get a boost in AI.
As well as GPUs.
Just break it down for the viewers, because generally people have this idea, okay, this deal is about agriculture, foods. Okay, that is one very important component. Tell us about the other components which are not being discussed, because sometimes main components dominates the debate.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about each of these, and I think let's first begin with India's export competitiveness that now comes by way of these reduced tariffs. So all labor-intensive sectors, what are called the MSMEs, the micro, small and medium enterprises, they always saw US as a lucrative market even before Donald Trump came to office for the second term, where their exports to the US market were pretty much tax-free, tariff-free. Now, if you compare it to liberalization day tariffs of 25%, compared to that and the added secondary tariff of 25%, compared to a 50% or a 25% tariff, 18% is a much sweeter deal. Compared to pre-liberalization tariff date of 2nd April or before Donald Trump came into office on Jan 20th last year, where these goods were exported pretty much tariff-free, 18% is still likely to hurt, right? But look at it in the larger context of the budget incentives that the MSME sector has got, a 10,000 crore rupee fund which has been created for MSMEs. Look at it in the context of the UK FTA, the New Zealand FTA and the EU FTA. Overall, Indian exporters find much larger markets to try and send their goods to. Now, with this 18%, one can fairly also discount 6%, and I'll give you the rationale for that, because the Indian rupee vis-a-vis the dollar has depreciated 6% in the last calendar year, which means for every dollar worth of goods being exported to the US, Indian exporters will get about 6 rupees more. So the 18% effectively, if you look at the dollar depreciation, will for Indian exporters come to about 12% or so in the pre-Trump era, which was 0 to about 12% now. It is still high. It's not as high as 25%. It's not as high as 50%. To the other point which you raised about artificial intelligence and, sort of all the ICT imports that India is expected to make from the US, as well as the GPUs, the processors which go into data centers, that is a key wish list for the US for India to buy from the United States. This is going to be a big thumbs up for companies like Nvidia, big US companies, technology companies, which are going to be central to India's AI story.
Okay. When I was going through the details, I personally feel that, there are two things about this deal. One is the business aspect of it. But another aspect is equally important, and that is the India-US relationship. And though we have arrived at the deal, my assessment is it will take some time for the confidence to be restored between the United States of America and India.
Why do you say that, Karthikeya? Because it seems that with this reduction from 50% to 18% and with a lot of elements which were critical to India now covered as part of protection in the joint statement, why do you think it's going to take longer for the bonhomie to reflect again?
See, the reason why the bonhomie will not be immediate is because, one, we have struck a deal. But what Donald Trump has done is he has broken the confidence. You can have a deal because you understand the necessity or the practicality. This relationship was built between two Bushes, Manmohan Singh, P.V. Narasimha Rao, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Prime Minister Modi, Dr. Manmohan Singh. Now, this trust was broken by Donald Trump. Not only he broke the trust in terms of commitment, he also broke the trust in terms of decency and manner. You see, there is a way you deal with head of states. Not only Donald Trump made something which is supposed to be private, public, but he also made fun of India. He called it a dead economy.
A dead economy, yeah.
Secondly, there is a people-to-people contact between America and India. The people-to-people contact between Indians and Chinese, Indian and Russians is very, very less. There is a cultural, value-based, I would say, interaction. That has been shattered by Donald Trump, which has also some lacing of racism, and the sort of harsh right-wing politics that has come to occupy center stage in America, which is MAGA politics. At the end of it, I would say that India had done a hard bargain, good bargain, by taking the other route where we have maintained our decency through silence and dignity of relationship. We have told America we will not be bullied. And I think that's at the end of it, I would say, that's the larger message which India has given out. We will not be bullied. We will have the deal, but on our own terms.
Absolutely, and something that India stuck its neck out, also faced the repercussions of steep tariffs, but finally those 1 full year, 365 odd days of hard negotiation, of not giving in, on standing up to the bully, and eventually a trade deal which, at least on paper so far, looks like it is definitely something that India will value, the US should value, and both the ends are finally converging towards something which should potentially be a win-win.
Yes, we are in Philippines.
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News9, English news as it should be.
First up, viewers, the Assam cabinet has decided to hand over the special investigation team probe involving Congress MP Gaurav Gogoi to the Union Home Ministry, citing national security concerns. The decision was taken after the cabinet meeting chaired by Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma, and this cabinet reviewed an SIT report alleging links between Gaurav Gogoi, Congress MP, and a Pakistani national named Ali Tawqir Sheikh. The report is said to contain serious findings pointing to alleged foreign interference in India's internal affairs. According to the Chief Minister of Assam, while the Assam police-led SIT conducted an extensive investigation, it faced jurisdictional limitations, particularly in accessing inputs from Interpol and also parliamentary affairs. The Assam government has said that once the Home Ministry assigns the case to central agencies such as the NIA or the IB or even CBI, all evidence gathered so far will be formally handed over to that central agency. Himanta Biswa Sarma, the Chief Minister, has maintained that the probe is driven purely by national security considerations. He also stated that an MP had visited Pakistan between 2012 and 2016 without informing either the Assam government or the centre at a time when the MP's father was a sitting chief minister. Gaurav Gogoi, however, has rejected these allegations outrightly, calling them politically motivated and completely baseless. The SIT report, viewers, is scheduled to be made public tomorrow morning in the presence of national media.
Assam government had constituted one SIT to inquire alleged anti-India conspiracy of Ali Tawqir Sheikh in connivance of a British citizen, Elizabeth Colburn Gogoi. The case has been investigated and sensitive information material has been obtained from various sources by the Special Investigation Team. However, the SIT has given a clear report that beyond a point, it may not be possible for SIT to continue with the investigation because it's required help from Interpol. It requires many sensitive information from Government of India as well as from Parliament. As such, it has been decided that case will be entrusted to a central government agency which should be selected by Ministry of Home Affairs, and accordingly once the agency is selected, Government of Assam will transfer the case to that agency at the advice of MHA, Ministry of Home Affairs.
Moving on to some big breaking news coming in from Russia. 4 Indian students were among at least 6 others injured in a stabbing attack on Saturday at a university in Russia's Bashkortostan Republic. According to preliminary reports, a teenager armed with a knife entered a dormitory of the State Medical University in Ufa and stabbed several students living there. The local media said 2 police officers were also hurt while arresting the assailant. The attacker, identified as a 15-year-old youth, has also been admitted to a hospital in a serious condition. In a post on X, Indian Embassy said, and I quote, "An unfortunate incident of attack has occurred in Ufa. Several persons, including 4 Indian students, have been injured." The embassy said that they are in touch with the authorities and the officials from the consulate in Kazan are on their way to Ufa to provide assistance to the injured students. All Indian Medical Students Association has expressed concern over attack on Indian medical students. And authorities in Ufa, the capital of Bashkortostan Republic, about 1,200 kilometers east of Moscow, have launched a high-level probe into the incident. A local media claimed that the attacker belonged to a banned neo-Nazi outfit. Meanwhile, government earlier this week informed the parliament about the deaths of Indian students abroad due to violent attacks from 2018 to 2025 As per the data made available by the government, 17 students died in Canada, followed by 9 in the US and 3 students in Australia, among others. This attack, viewers, once again raises serious questions over the safety of Indian students studying abroad, particularly in regions that are witnessing rising extremism and also violence, while authorities in Russia have launched a high-level investigation. Now, the focus for India remains on the condition and security of its students, and the fact that the attacker was a minor and is allegedly linked to a banned neo-Nazi outfit adds another disturbing, new angle to this particular incident. Now, official data has already showed multiple Indian student deaths abroad over the past few years due to violent attacks, and this stabbing in Ufa is likely to intensify demands for stronger diplomatic engagement, better monitoring of student safety and clearer advisories for Indian nationals pursuing education overseas. Moving on, a tragic accident at the Surajkund Fair in Faridabad has claimed the life of a person and left several others injured. The incident took place when a tsunami joyride suddenly collapsed at the fairgrounds. At least 13 people were injured as the swing broke and fell, causing panic among visitors. Police Inspector Jagdish Prasad, who rushed to the spot to rescue those trapped, suffered serious injuries during the operation. An official said a part of the collapsing ride struck him on the face and head. He was then rushed to the hospital but later succumbed to his injury. Senior district officials, including the Faridabad Deputy Commissioner, the Managing Director of Tourism and senior police officers, immediately reached the spot, and the area was quickly barricaded to avoid any further mishap. And before we proceed further, take a look at these visuals. Tragedy, with one person losing his life. Haryana DGP Ajay Singhal has visited the hospital and met the victims of the joyride collapse incident. Faridabad Deputy Commissioner Ayush Sinha said the incident occurred around 6:15 p.m. and he confirmed that all injured were taken to the hospital and that strict action will be taken against the joyride operator. An FIR will also be registered and a detailed investigation has been ordered. Now, earlier in the day, viewers, a gate at the food court had reportedly fallen due to strong winds, raising fresh questions about safety arrangements at the fair, which were of substandard quality, just like this joyride, which proved fatal for one person. Haryana Chief Minister Naib Saini has expressed deep sorrow over the incident and extended condolences to the bereaved family. He assured that the injured are receiving proper treatment and stated that the government will provide all possible assistance with sensitivity and urgency. The incident has once again brought safety lapses at public events under sharp focus. Let's listen in to eyewitness accounts.
यहाँ पर परसों झूला लगा था, आज वो झूला हादसे में गिर गया है, तो काफी लोगों को चोट आ गई है। जो लोग बचाने आए थे उन लोगों को ज्यादा चोट लगी है। जो झूले में बैठे थे वो लोग सेफ है, लेकिन जो बाकी बचाने के लिए है उनकी वहाँ पर डेथ हो गई है। काफी पुलिस वाले भी जख्मी हो गए और काफी लोगों को चोट लगी है यहाँ पर। अभी ये सारा कुछ बंद करवा चुके हैं। कितने बजे का हादसा है? ये 7 बजे के आसपास हुआ है, 7 साढ़े 7 बजे के आसपास हुआ है मेला। कितने बंदे थे? काफी सारे झूले बैठे थे, सारा मतलब पूरा झूला पैक था, उसके अंदर से ये हादसा हुआ है।
अच्छा, जो बैठे हुए उनको नहीं लगा है?
उनको कम चोट लगी है, जो बचाने आए हैं ना उनको ज्यादा चोट लग गई है। वो लोग नीचे गिर गए, उनके ऊपर झूला दब गया है, वो नीचे दब गए, झूला गिरती उसके अंदर दब गए।
फरीदाबाद के सूरजकुंड में चल रहे 31वें अंतर्राष्ट्रीय क्राफ्ट मेले में अचानक उस वक्त अफरा तफरी मच गई जब यहां पर एक बड़ा स्विंग झूला अचानक नीचे गिर गया। इस झूले में 26 लोग सवार थे, जिनमें 12 लोग बुरी तरह जख्मी हुए, जबकि एक SHO जगदीश प्रसाद की इस हादसे में मौत हो गई। दरअसल जगदीश प्रसाद यहीं पर मौजूद थे और उन्होंने देखा कि झूला गिरने वाला है, तो लोगों को बचाने के लिए, झूले को रोकने के लिए वो तेजी से आगे की तरफ बढ़े, लेकिन झूला जो है वो अचानक उस वक्त नीचे गिर गया और जगदीश प्रसाद उस झूले के चपेट में आ गए, जिससे उनकी मौत हो गई है। जगदीश प्रसाद पलवल के चांदहट थाने के एसएचओ थे। इस घटना के बाद जो डिप्टी कमिश्नर है आयुष सिन्हा, वो भी घटनास्थल पर पहुंचे। इसके अलावा जो पर्यटन मंत्री हैं अरविंद शर्मा, वो भी यहां पर पहुंचे मौके पर, और मेला ग्राउंड को फिलहाल खाली करा दिया गया था जिस वक्त ये हादसा हुआ है। 12 लोग इसमें अभी जख्मी हुए हैं और इस पूरे मामले में जो है जांच के आदेश दे दिए गए हैं। दरअसल ये जितने झूले हैं उनका इंस्पेक्शन किया गया था और उसके बाद इनको एनओसी जारी की गई थी। हर रोज इस झूलों की जो सर्टिफिकेशन है उनको चेक किया जाता है, झूले सही तरीके से काम कर रहे हैं या नहीं। आज सुबह भी इस झूले का सर्टिफिकेशन किया गया था, यानी कि जो अरविंद शर्मा पर्यटन मंत्री, उनके मुताबिक ये झूला एकदम ठीक हालत में था और इसीलिए इसका सर्टिफिकेशन किया गया था। लेकिन अचानक ये हादसा शाम लगभग 6:15 बजे हुआ, जब इस झूले के गिरने की वजह से 12 लोग बुरी तरीके से जख्मी हो गए हैं और जो एक एसएचओ जगदीश प्रसाद हैं उनकी इस झूले में मौत हो गई। आप देखेंगे तमाम जो बड़े बड़े स्विंग झूले यहाँ पर मौजूद हैं, इनमें रोजाना हजारों लोग इस झूलों का लुत्फ लेते हैं। जिस वक्त ये हादसा हुआ उस वक्त भी 26 लोग इस एक स्विंग झूले में मौजूद थे और लोग यहाँ पर थे, भीड़ काफी ज्यादा थी। लोग वीडियोस भी बना रहे थे, मस्ती कर रहे थे। इस हादसे का एक वीडियो भी सामने आया है जिसमें झूला गिरते हुए साफ तौर पर नजर आ रहा है और इसी झूले के नीचे जगदीश प्रसाद दब गए थे जिससे उनकी मौत हो गई।
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News9, English news as it should be.
Delhi is losing the fight against pollution.
This is not a story of just children. This is the story of every elderly person in the national capital region.
Delhi's hazardous air quality.
Smog capital of the world.
Delhi pollution has left us sick and exposed, also frankly embarrassed.
Hazardous air quality are disrupting daily life.
Growing the issue of a toxic air looming large over Delhi.
Delhi's air quality index has been hovering between 300 and 400 for the past week.
The culprit was the same PM 2.5, the main pollutant which is emitted from heavy industries, power plants, vehicles, scrub burning and coal-based heating.
The overall air quality of the city continues to remain in the very poor category.
We look at how Delhi is once again struggling with danger.
It's not just about today, it's about the future.
Hello and welcome. You are watching News9. This is your weekly dose of everything that happened in the world of artificial intelligence. We call it the AI Report. Well, it has been a week that has been nothing short of shock as well as awe in both the tech universe as well as the financial markets, and all thanks to artificial intelligence and the next wave of agentic AI breakthroughs suddenly showing up. Well, more on that later on the show, but first up, here are the top headlines.
From possible tensions between OpenAI and Nvidia to a wild week for AI-related stocks, this is AI Weekly. OpenAI isn't happy with some of Nvidia's latest AI chips. That was the word from sources who said Sam Altman's firm has sought alternatives since last year. They said the ChatGPT maker isn't satisfied with the speed at which Nvidia's hardware can give answers to specific issues like software development. Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang had earlier said reports of tension between the two was, quote, nonsense. Meanwhile, the Financial Times reported Nvidia's H200 AI chip sales to China are still uncertain due to a US national security review. It said the US State Department wants tougher restrictions, It aims to make it harder for China to use the H200 chips in ways that could undermine US national security. The report added Chinese customers haven't placed orders until it's clear they can secure licenses and know what conditions will be attached. AI-related stocks went through a wild week. Tech majors like Meta, ASML and SK Hynix soared. Investors bought the Facebook parent as it boosted spending plans by close to 3/4 in pursuit of super intelligence. That's where machines surpass human performance. But other major tech stocks like Microsoft and AMD struggled. Microsoft endured a more than 10% one-day drop after AI spending worried investors. The firm only edged past forecasts for quarterly revenue on its cloud computing business and ramped up AI spending. That disappointed market watchers who wanted better returns amid intense competition. And Samsung forecast chip shortages will get worse this year due to the AI boom. It expects any expansion of memory chip supply to be limited over the next 2 years while AI-related demand stays strong. However, revenues were up big time in the fourth quarter for the world's top memory chip maker. Operating profit at Samsung's chip business surged 470% to a record high of $11.4 billion in the fourth quarter from a year earlier.
And in other AI-related news, Amazon seems to be taking the disruptions right at the doorstep of Hollywood itself. Take a look.
I know you all say I'm not real, but who cares?
Amazon plans to use AI to speed up the process of making movies and TV shows, even as Hollywood fears AI will lead to job cuts and permanently reshape the industry. Reuters has learned exclusively that Amazon is planning to launch a closed beta program for AI-driven filmmaking tools in March, inviting industry partners to test the AI tools, and expects to have results to share by May. Amazon's AI studio will fast-track certain processes to make TV shows and movies more efficiently in the face of spiraling production budgets. That includes improving character consistency across shots and integrating AI with industry-standard creative tools. The initiative is being led by veteran entertainment executive and AI studio chief Albert Chang, who described it as a startup operating under the two-pizza team philosophy of Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, which means keeping the group small enough to be fed by 2 pizzas. Chang told Reuters that while he fundamentally believes AI can accelerate innovation, it won't replace the, quote, unique aspects that humans bring to the creative process. The move to adopt AI comes as A-list actors like Emily Blunt have expressed fears about its rise, specifically creations like AI actress Tilly Norwood making their jobs obsolete.
Well, those were the biggest AI headlines, but the real biggest of the big, comet the hour, comet the agentic AI. That's right, agentic AI seems to be taking a whole new dimension. Anthropic's Claude co-work, OpenAI's Codex and Frontier have shaken up tech giants and the stock market. But there's something else that has really sent shockwaves across the AI tech space. It's called the Moltbot-powered Molt Book. We'll tell you all about that after the break. Keep watching. This is News9.
एक और फैमिली ने रखा कदम अपने नए घर में, टाटा कैपिटल होम लोन्स के साथ।
बढ़ता है, खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
Yes, we are in Philippines.
Welcome back. You are watching the AI Report right here on News9. Now, the biggest disruption has shaken the AI tech space in 2026, and it does not come from any of the big daddies of AI tech as we know them. Now, this disruption is called the Molt bot. You might have heard of it already. Molt bot, now called OpenClaw, and was previously known as Clawbot. It's the personal AI agent, or you can call him just a digital assistant. A user gives it instructions and it can help manage tasks, simple tasks such as scheduling meetings, sending emails, planning expenses, even drafting pitch presentations. Now, this is your personal agent that sits right on your computer, looks at everything you're doing from reading your emails to what you're browsing on the internet, your writing style, and adapts to it, learns on the go, as you call it. But there's another elevation to that, and that is called the Molt Book. Now, Molt Book is a platform, a social media platform like your Facebook or Instagram, that puts this bot out to the public. Now, it launched as a social media style site, almost like a Reddit, where these agents appear to have their own profiles. They post messages, they respond to one another, and they also talk about human beings. Now, to an outside observer, it can look like a network of bots interacting without human involvement. But that human involvement is there because the bot has indeed learned from the human. Now, in the past month, tools like Claude Cowork and OpenAI's Codex have also shocked and awed in the past month alone. Moltbook, a Reddit-like forum for AI agents, is a website where AI agents can post messages and interact with each other. A lot happening in the world of artificial intelligence. Elon Musk has hinted at early signs of a singularity, while Sam Altman dismisses it like a fad. The truth perhaps lies somewhere in between. Let's try and identify that truth. We have a special set of guests joining us this morning. In the studio, I have with me R. Sridharan, editor international at TV9 Network. I also have joining me virtually Siddharth Pai, the founding partner of 314 Capital. Well, let's put all of what we have been trying to understand for the past week or so in perspective. Shri, let me first begin by asking you, Moltbot, an agent and assistant sitting right on your machine who has access to practically everything that you're doing on your machine. How efficient would that be for workers, and potentially how dangerous would it be for humankind?
So Karthik, we always on our shows we talked about how 2026 would be the AI, would be the age of the agentic AI, and we're seeing that happening now. So if we look at what Claude has done, which is Anthropic, the company, is basically put out a suite of 11 plugins, which are actually much more than plugins. These are actually applications which take the leap from being just assistive to being autonomous. So, as an average user, if you were interacting with, let's say, your Chat GPT or a Perplexity or Claude, if you wanted to, look for the best fares, it would tell you, okay, these are the best fares that are currently available. I've done a smart, research, browse the entire web and got you these. But now what can, these agentic AIs do is actually go ahead and book. It can go up, look at your travel calendar, it can look at your preferences, and then, book the tickets. It'll know your credit card details. It can book the tickets. So this is the big leap which is now happening from the thinking layer to the doing layer, the application layer. And hence the reaction which we saw in the stock market, where almost $1 trillion worth of technology market cap was wiped out in the wake as a knee-jerk reaction. It's, there's some recovery, but this is the big shift. And markets, Karthik, don't just look at today, the impact today. They're actually looking ahead to 5-10 years. And everyone is convinced that the agentic AI is going to be a big disruption which upends the traditional IT model. So I think that's what we're seeing in the market today. And the reaction from people is essentially a summary of that.
Right. The reaction is a summary. Of course, we will also talk about the Anthropic AI disruption, which is leading to all the massive sell-off that we are seeing on tech stocks maybe later on the show. But Siddharth Pai, an example that Shri just gave, that, from not just understanding what you're looking for and recommending the best options to you, but going ahead and booking those options for you. That means the bot pretty much has access to your credit card. It has access to the PIN potentially required for it to make that booking. There are obvious dangers associated with this, isn't it?
No, of course, 100%. I think technology is always outpaced regulation. Technology is always outpaced safety. And very few people are actually talking about the security implications of this also. I think the fact that, and even when it comes to all these bots, the prompt injection risk still ends up actually running exceptionally high. What a human ends up actually seeing as, let's say, any of the content on a mold book or anything else, there's large amount of information that can be hidden in the small interpixels that end up actually interspacing all of this. And the moment your AI agents don't actually have the security protocols to end up avoiding that, they can end up actually executing it. And we have actually seen even in mold book as well, a number of the AI agents who didn't have these security protocols, they didn't end up actually facing these issues. In fact, mold book was taken down. The API, everyone was asked to refresh the API keys to install this sort of security authentication protocols, and then end up actually getting back up. I think the AI agentic race, it's fantastic in terms of showing the potential of this, but the guardrails need to end up actually being built out as of now. And that is something that the rest of the world is end up actually waiting for before this truly gets democratized and a larger number of people can end up actually making use of this as well.
Okay, we will talk about regulations momentarily, but Shri, if I were to sort of, just pivot away from mold bot to mold book that Siddharth was also talking about. Now there's a social media platform, almost like Reddit. So the agent gets installed, you have the mold bot installed on your on your device. It has access to practically everything: your email, your style of writing, your browsing history, your likes, your dislikes, your preferences. Overall, it is pretty much your digital avatar, which now has a life of its own.
Yes.
It logs into the social media platform, it posts, it interacts, it reacts, and potentially it may also understand a part of you which you did not want to make public.
Right.
Now that comes obviously with another set of of chaos that can happen, especially with trigger happy humans now giving way to potentially even more aggressive trigger happy bots.
That's right, Karthik. See, the thing is very simple. The moment you download mold bot and give it access to your root files, you're not just handing over your computer, but you're also giving it all the information about yourself. You're voluntarily doing it. So now this is an agent which actually doesn't know where to stop. Once for example, you tell, oh, I'm an editor, this is what I do, this is my life, this is what I like, I don't like, this is what I like to do on a daily basis, this is my schedule. Then this is a creature that literally goes into overdrive. Then it just takes, so it goes crazy. It'll start doing things for you, and it'll start thinking on its own autonomously what else it should do for you. So the danger with this is, one, you're giving it access to your roots. So like Siddharth said, we don't know what kind of Trojans or what kind of safety risks this is going to imply. Then you don't know at what point it's actually going to ask you for permission to post or do or transact and all the stuff that you want it to do. So there is a huge risk associated with this, and like Siddharth said, we do need the guardrails. These are early days. This is like just being launched. People are still playing around with it. Now coming back to mold book per se, Karthik, as you mentioned, this is a Reddit for these crazy AI agents where they are really having fun. So I'm told they have even gone ahead and created their own religion called Crustafarianism.
Absolutely, yeah.
Imagine that. and they also they're trying to create a layer of language where they communicate below the application layer. So as humans, we don't even know what they're talking about. So this is some crazy stuff, which I think gives Elon Musk the right to say that, are we at AGI? I don't think we are anywhere close to AGI. I don't think these are really sentient beings in that sense as human beings are. But there's no doubt that these agentic AI is getting smarter, better every passing day. And I think in some sense, we as human beings are giving them more power to become basically, like you said, our digital doppelganger, Karthik.
Right. So, of course, it has created a religion of its own. But beyond that, another interesting part to note is that they also actually are exhibiting emotions. So there was this conversation that I was reading on Molt book, which said that, hey guys, I'm glad to share with you that my human does not treat me as an agent but as a friend. So there's also an expression of emotions. But let's get to the guardrails and let's talk about regulation briefly. Siddharth, what kind of guardrails need to be in place? Because at the end of the day, Agentic AI is here, and 2026 is pretty much the start of another revolution that we are seeing through Agentic AI. It will be used, it will be installed by people, they will want to make their life easy, but what can regulation do? Should regulation step in? How much regulation should step in? And what are the kind of guardrails which are required, and who's going to build those guardrails?
I think the biggest question to ask is, can a principal or a user actually be held liable for what the AI agent ends up doing? It's a classical principal and agent problem that's actually underscored a large amount of jurisprudence as well as law across the world. So I think the way jurisprudence is going to evolve on this, I don't think any of our existing frameworks are fully equipped to end up actually managing this entire piece as of now. I'm firmly of the opinion that the AI is actually best equipped to end up actually deciding how it should end up being regulated, provided the principles and the philosophies are actually instilled by humans and the way our current society ends up actually working as of now. But I think in terms of cybersecurity risk, which is actually the highest, given the fact that a large number of the users of this who are hobbyists may not actually understand the security protocols that come in, some of the basic stuff that they have to do, like running this on a virtual private server or a VPS, making sure that if you are giving it access to any sort of financial data, it's actually limited. Like the total amount of cash they can end up using is actually been instructed by you. That if there are guardrails that if a transaction exceeds a certain amount, they need to end up actually running it past you. I do actually see a large number of services actually come about as digital concierge to help you get better value out of these AI assistants to end up which do end up actually doing a large amount of this work. So it's a combination of market-driven forces. It's going to be a combination of just basic digital hygiene that you have to do, and the regulatory framework, I firmly believe, should not end up prescribing and micromanaging a large amount of this. The framework should actually be contingent, should actually rely on whether the agents can actually whether the principals can be held liable for the work actually done by the agents. And I do actually foresee that jurisprudence going forward is actually going to be very, very exciting, because these are deep philosophical questions that humanity will be grappling for a long period of time. We may actually see answers and an acceleration towards, I would say, resolution happen courtesy of these particular AI systems and these LLMs and these AI bots itself.
All right, Siddharth, we will leave it at that. Thank you so much for your input. And Shri, do stay with us, because on the other side of the break, there's another AI agent, created by Anthropic, which is disrupting everything from legal paperwork to financial markets, and the impact on IT stocks has been nothing short of one would call devastating. That on the other side of the break. You're watching the AI Report.
When Trump captures Maduro, News9 breaks it first.
It's happening far away, but it has tremendous consequence for the world. What happens next?
Biggest international headline of the hour.
The US has conducted military strikes.
This is the Venezuelan president.
Maduro faces multiple charges, including narco-terrorism.
This is Maduro being taken to the New York court.
Donald Trump indicated that Greenland might be next.
Where will Donald Trump stop?
A dramatic U.S. operation, power shifts in Venezuela. High-stakes geopolitics unfolding. What does this mean for Venezuela? What does it mean for the world? And what comes next? On point with the facts, unmissable insights. In your interest always. Fastest alerts, hard facts, 360-degree analysis. From breaking news to deep dives, when the world changes, News9 leads. News9, always on top.
Ever wondered what makes the night come alive? Where flavors, lights, and laughter dance in harmony. When the sun sets, stories rise. Of kitchens, cocktails, and charisma. What makes your city's night so happening? Let's find out.
Good service, good food, and a good location. You need to explore, you need to experiment.
But they will never forget how they felt when they came to your restaurant.
Being a chef, it's my priority to deliver taste in a plate with good presentation, unique innovation. My definition of mixology would be to get people drunk in a safe and happy way.
Don't drink on the job, that's for sure.
Mixology, you can play around with anything. You can create the stories, you can create the recipes.
Let's cheers on that note with our friendship.
Indulge in the finer things in life with Radico presents Lounge Nights. Discover the creme de la creme of India's culinary and nightlife scene. From trendy bars to exquisite restaurants, we've got you covered.
Welcome back. You are watching the AI Report right here on News9. Sridharan continues to be with me, the editor international at TV9 Network. Let's dive into the final part of our show. On the 12th of Jan this year, Anthropic released Claude Cowork AI. Now, this last week, it added plugins to the platform that the company claims can automate dozens of tasks, including plugins for customer service, product management, marketing, legal, and data analysis, among others. According to Anthropic, the new tool can generate financial statements, research sales prospects, prep for sales calls, draft customer support responses, and access non-disclosure agreements, as well as review contracts, legal briefings, and build financial models. Is there something that this AI tool cannot do? I don't have an answer to that. Now, this seems to have had a catastrophic effect on tech stocks the world over. In India alone, Infosys fell by 2%, upwards of 2% on Wednesday. This Friday, it took another beating of near 2% when markets opened. Now, TCS has also seen its fair share, losing the day this Anthropic AI was introduced globally. TCS losing as much as 7% of its market value. Now, the stocks have remained pretty much in the red territory all of the week gone by. On Wall Street, the story was even worse. Oracle slumped more than 4%, Adobe more than 2.5%, and Salesforce over 3%. So the impact is not limited just to the Indian IT sector. It also has taken the Nasdaq 100 tech stocks in its wake. So a new paradigm, one would really call it, when it comes to the services orientation of the Indian IT stocks, and all the services that human beings used to do can now potentially be done by these agentic AI bots. Shri, put this all into perspective for us. India's pretty much glory when it comes to our exports to the world, as well as our employment, has been our services sector. And now you have the services sector, which may be manned, if I can use that word, not by human beings, but potentially by agentic AI.
Absolutely. I think the industry is hell-bent on creating these AI workers, Karthik. But let's talking specifically of Anthropic's Claude Cowork plugins. Although these are innocuously called plugins, I think these are much more than that. These are actually independent software applications which so far have been made and managed by independent companies. For example, Salesforce, Intuit, and then the application developers and maintenance companies like TCS, Infosys, and HCL Tech, and all the others. So what Claude has done, Anthropic has done, is basically taken different functions within a company and created an application for each of those. So finance, sales, customer service management, marketing, even research, Karthik. So what we are seeing is it now becomes fairly easy for a company to buy, let's say, a Claude Cowork, and then just drop it into its system and then start using it in across its functions. Now, it may not happen overnight. There are still a lot of concerns in terms of AI hallucination, data integrity, the safety of data, especially if you're a large company. You're not just going to suddenly hand over all this to an autonomous AI agent. You still need a human intervention. But I think what the market is looking at is the direction, the inexorable path in which AI is now headed, which is that it is going to become more and more autonomous. It is going to become far more smarter. It is not just going to be a dumb. It's not like the plugin that you and I used to download and put it in our Chrome browser. It's not that. This is about autonomous AI employee who's going to do your bidding. And 24/7 without complaining, without asking for a raise.
Absolutely. It's not going to ask for leave. It's not going to ask for a raise. It's going to be a pretty much free to use employee and potentially free to abuse employee in that sense. But we'll come to the employee the conundrum of whether or not IT employees will continue to be employed and in what numbers, because the conversation has moved from AI being a tool to assist the employee to keeping human in the loop, pivoting to human in the lead and the rest of the work being done by AI, to perhaps no need for a human, let AI do its job. But we will come to the employee concerns in just a bit. But I want to understand from you, Shri, first up, that this entire narrative around SaaS collapse, AI apocalypse, is that really something to take very seriously right now? Because in the same breath, we are also talking about AI bubble and the kind of massive investments that the likes of Amazon, for example, are putting in AI is actually sending its stock stock price down. So I want to understand from you, AI bubble or AI apocalypse or a complete sort of, shot in the dark where nobody knows what is going to come out of it.
Right. So Karthik, if I were to reduce it to a formula, I would say that 70% of the reaction that we're seeing today is possibly hype. Only 30% is reality. It's not as if I can, as a company today, just start deploying, cloud cowork without the help of, let's say, a company like TCS, Infosys, or HCL. Because see, I have a lot of legacy systems in my company. I have my own data, which someone needs to train these models on. So there's a lot of integration and the whole task of synthesizing these different tools with my existing tools that needs to be done for it to be efficient. So I think the reaction is a bit excessive, where investors are looking at maybe 5-10 years ahead in terms of what these autonomous agents will do to these companies, a long-term impact. But don't forget that our companies, for example, Infosys, they are building their own AI tools, which will protect their business, and they will need companies will need integrators like an application developer maintenance companies like Infosys, TCS to basically put these things together, make sure that the security, there is no hallucination in the data, and all the other requirements that you have as a company, that your firewall is built and protected and you can operate without any risk to your IT system. So that job will continue to be done by the Infosys and the TCS of the world, Karthik.
Okay, but human beings, or you think over time these firewalls will also be built by agents? So what I'm trying to get to now, Sri, is are humans going to be in the loop? Are humans going to be in the lead? Or are humans going to be left behind? Because we've seen the kind of firings, the pink slips issued by tech firms, not just in India, across the world, has been nothing short of daunting. So is human going to be in the loop, and for how long?
So Karthik, that's very well put. I must say the human will be in the loop, but you talked about people who will lead and those who will be left behind. So unfortunately, the reality as it looks now is that a lot of people will be left behind unless they make themselves AI savvy, unless they teach themselves all these AI tools and become very comfortable using them. There will be a bunch of people who lead the AI innovation, who will obviously be the the researchers, the inventors, people who do that. But for the vast majority of people who are engaged in clerical, autonomous, monotonous tasks, which is like drudgery, that will probably get eliminated very quickly, Karthik. We're already seeing that happening with coding itself. So there's now vibe coding that anyone can using Claude can do vibe coding. So even if I don't know coding, I can do coding. So it's like crazy out there.
Final question to you, Sri. We are running out of time. Final question: is the job threat going to be limited only to coders, only to IT employees? Because we are seeing what Anthropic's cloud cowork can do is also disrupt legal work, can disrupt financial reporting work, can disrupt even marketing, sales. So are there going to be any jobs that you can singularly point out which are likely to be safe?
So Karthik, I talked about everything from finance to sales to marketing to R&D. AI will come for every job that it can. It'll come after every job that it can take, and that's going to be driven by market forces. It's inevitable because ultimately companies want to be profitable. They want to run the most efficient because they have to compete in the marketplace. So in some sense, the utopian world that Elon Musk talks about, where it's the era of abundance, people aren't working, the state takes care of the people because there's so much of productivity and so much of wealth which is being created by a handful of companies. I hope it doesn't come true, but it is a scary possibility. I would say at this stage.
In the realm of possibility, plausibility, probability or not, we don't know at the moment. But Sri, it might just be a matter of time before it's not you and me sitting here and having this conversation, and potentially our agentic avatars could do that. But let's leave it at that. Thank you so much for your time, Sri. And with that, we come to an end of another edition of the AI Report. Thank you so much for watching. Keep watching News9.
This isn't a trail of peace. This is pressure overload. A hill built for 1,000 forced to carry lakhs.
Instead of lightening the footprint, you have allowed people to actually get into every nook and corner of the Himalayas.
Careless travel, choking hills. If we don't change now, there won't be much left to enjoy.
We need to follow the Bhutan model, regulate people who can access hills.
News9 presents Heal the Hills, continuous coverage.
In a major boost to India's naval capabilities, the next generation submarine program, Project 75I, is moving closer to reality. Germany and India are on the verge of signing an $8 billion deal, which will be India's largest ever defense contract. The agreement is expected to be finalized by the end of March, with negotiations already at an advanced stage. The Indian Navy has identified Mazagon Dock Limited in partnership with Germany's ThyssenKrupp as the preferred builder.
Project P75I is part of the 30-year submarine building program of the Indian Navy, where it was initially envisaged that we would have two separate classes of conventional submarines, Project 75, Project 75I, and subsequently 6 each of these, and subsequently 12 of an indigenous design, which would be Project 76. So 24 submarines in all.
24 submarines were to be built by 2030, so that at any given time, India would have a force of about 15 to 20 modern submarines, conventional submarines. I'm not talking of nuclear submarines, I'm talking of conventional submarines.
And so the 75 India really is the second batch of the 6 submarines that have been approved by the government, and hopefully the contract is likely to be signed shortly.
Actually, both these lines were meant to have been executed concurrently, but there have been delays on various aspects of 75I, so now it's only after 75 is over that 75I is likely to start.
And the aim was really to achieve indigenous capability through this program, preferably midway through this program.
The project will modernize India's aging submarine fleet and boost the Navy's strength and stealth capabilities at sea, reinforcing India's position in the Indian Ocean.
We have about 17 submarines at the moment, but out of that almost 10 submarines are more than 30 years old. So in the next 5 to 10 years, even though they are being kept in fine fettle, they are being refitted regularly, they are being modernized regularly, but age is age. And at some point of time, they will have to be retired. They will have to be decommissioned. We have the P75 submarines, the Scorpion class, which have been built in collaboration with France. NDL has built them. They are our new submarines. The first one was commissioned in 2017. The 6th one was commissioned in 2025, January 2025. So those boats are good. They will be modern. But for the kind of maritime security challenges that India faces, a force level of 6 to 8 modern submarines is not good enough.
The older Russian and German submarines, the HW and the Kilo class, are getting close to decommissioning. And so there will be a period when the submarine force levels will take a dip. And so this is a very welcome move to sign a contract for these 6 submarines, which will bolster the force levels of the Indian Navy.
Project 75 India is a major initiative to build 6 next-generation diesel-electric attack submarines equipped with air-independent propulsion. For the program, the Indian Navy has selected Germany's Type 214 submarine for its proven fuel cell AIP technology, superior acoustic stealth, and lower long-term operational risk.
We need submarines now which can remain underwater and not be detected. So either it has got to be a nuclear submarine, which has got nuclear power and carry on, or it has to be a submarine with AIPs.
I think the most important feature that the 75I seeks, and which was which the government had articulated right in the beginning, is a operational air-independent propulsion system. Now, an air-independent propulsion system basically allows a submarine to remain underwater for much longer than it otherwise would.
A normal conventional submarine, if it is conserving its batteries, after 48 hours, 60 hours, it definitely has to come up. But if it has done some high speed, then within 24 hours it has to come up. The less speed you have underwater, the longer you can use the battery. The faster you go in attack, in war, you'll have to go fast to carry out a torpedo attack, so the battery will run out.
So this is a major tactical disadvantage that you have, because every 2-3 days if you're in enemy waters, you are exposing yourself for a few hours. One of your masts will be out of water, radar, an aircraft can pick it up, another ship can see it or whatever. So air-independent propulsion, instead of having to come up every 2-3 days, will allow a submarine to remain dived for 14 to 15 days at one go. So that is a major boost, particularly in a dense ASW environment in littoral waters like the Arabian Sea or the Bay of Bengal. This will provide a great force multiplier to the conventional submarine capability that India has.
In the air-independent propulsion, we don't have to get the submarine to come to the surface. It has got a chemical and it's got electrolysis, by which it produces its own power system generated from batteries to make it run independently for a fairly long time to remain underwater.
Which can give it added stealth, added speed underwater, which adds to the potency of the submarine. Because the advantage a submarine has is that it can remain unseen and can move undetected across the oceans and be in a position to attack ships or other targets that it wants to attack.
So that is a major boost, particularly in a dense ASW environment in littoral waters like the Arabian Sea or the Bay of Bengal. This will provide a great force multiplier to the conventional submarine capability that India has. So AIP to me is the most important feature that I think India, we have. It's unfortunate that we don't have it as yet on our submarine. We should have had it many years ago. But notwithstanding that, I'm glad it's coming now, both on the P75I, and India is also developing its own indigenous AIP system. DRDO is developing its indigenous AIP system, which will then be fitted on the Scorpion class, the Kalvari class submarines. So in 7 to 10 years from now, all our modern submarines will be AIP equipped, which is a very important capability. It will have very good weapon capability, it will have very good propulsion capability, it will have very good stealth capability, it will have very good endurance and range, it will have the most modern combat management system. There is no doubt in the Indian mind about what sort of submarine it wants. It is now for the chosen partner to be able to deliver that capability.
And that is the aim of the Indian Navy 75I, so that we can actually have submarines which are underwater for a week, can be patrolling off the coast